It's a huge week for the Boston Bruins, and they're kicking it off with a rebrand of the Spoked Bee.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked Bee. Today is Monday, June 23rd. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And on today's episode, we are going to discuss the Bruins releasing the new look Spoked Bee, which harkens back to my favorite time in or my favorite look in franchise history, which is kicking it back to the 90s. We're going to talk about the reveal, the tease that happened on Sunday, as well as the evolution of the Spoked Bee and the video and the signaling therein. Some players featured, some players omitted, and what it all means. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my hockey thoughts, and dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I have been covering this team for various outlets for 20 years. It is hot as all get out there today. I went for a walk this morning to try to get my steps in before it got super hot, and it was already like 35 Celsius feeling by the time I was finished. So it's a hot one, a hot drop for the Bruins today as they revealed their new look for next season, going back to an old school Spoked Bee, which I just cannot get enough of. We all know last season was a disappointment for the Boston Bruins, and they're turning the page literally and figuratively. Today, they're returning to their classic Spoked Bee logo. It's not just about design either. It's a full-on mission statement as narrated by Denis Leary. And we're going to break down what the new old logo means, what history it taps into, who the team featured in its reveal, including one unsigned forward who's probably going to be part of the next core, a strong hit at the next captain, and omitting the previous captain. The week began with a bit of a mystery. David Pastrnak opening a box and unfolding a jersey in a teaser video posted by the Bruins' social media account on Sunday night. And it gave Wednesday, June 25th, as a date in which likely the full New Jersey is going to be revealed. Here on Monday morning, they revealed not just the logo, but also dropped their new philosophy. And again, narrated by Denis Leary, the video begins with, "For over a century, the Boston Bruins have stood for more than just hockey. We've stood for a way of doing things, harder, tougher, louder, and more loyal than anywhere else." That loyalty to a particular captain may be in question right now, but that's the message that they're going with. And the message formed the backbone of the announcement video, pairing the revival of a classic Spoked Bee logo with a rallying cry. A two-parter built by Boston and powered by tradition. The Bruins also updated their social media profile pictures and banners, solidifying the change across digital platforms. And what they're doing is taking the Spoked Bee from the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, and going back to two Spoked Bee logos as their co-primary marks starting in 2025, 26, and beyond. And the video continued by saying, "Our attitude, our identity, our truth, unchanged. But our legacy is not something to rest on. It's something to live up to." So the message is kind of clear. It's not just a design change, it's a recommitment to Bruins culture at a time when the team is undergoing significant transformation. And that line, built by Boston, powered by tradition, is now their official tagline for the upcoming season. Now, coming on the heels of Marco Sturm being introduced as head coach and the logo reveal, you could argue that the Bruins are really leaning on nostalgia, trying to control the narrative, especially in the wake of Brad Marchand winning the Stanley Cup as a member of the Florida Panthers and celebrating like crazy over the weekend, culminating in the Stanley Cup parade that happened in Florida on Sunday. But what the Bruins are trying to say, it looks like, is this is who we are, even if the faces change. And again, they are well past their centennial now. And they're saying in the video, our legacy is not something to rest on. It's something to live up to. They won one cup in 2011. They came close a few times since then, but they're at their lowest point right now, like standings wise, maybe public perception wise, than they have been in 20, 25 years. So that core that they've dined out on for quite a while, not something to rest on, they're saying, but something for the new core to live up to. The players, past and present, embody it. The fans carry it. The city forged it. Together, we turn the page. Built by Boston, powered by tradition. This is the message that is being marketed, let's be honest, to Bruins fans at this moment. The branding shift doesn't exist in a vacuum. It comes after the worst season in years. Brad Marchand traded to Florida, where he won the Stanley Cup. Charlie Coyle, Brandon Carlo moved, guys who were, secondary core players. Marco Sturm officially introduced as head coach, and it's setting the tone for what's to come, even this week. Full jersey reveal on Wednesday, possibly coinciding with a naming of a captain. You have the draft coming up this weekend where the 7th overall pick will be wearing that spoked B, barring a trade. There's also free agency coming up in 8 days where the Bruins will try to add to the core with significant cap space to use. Not to mention some possible trades coming up in the next couple of days as well. So if that's the tone, then the logo itself is carrying some weight. Let's take a closer look at the design and why it feels like the right move at the right time here as the podcast continues. If you're looking to crack into a snack that is both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether you're at your desk or behind the wheel or just need a quick protein boost. They're always a go-to. If you love cracking into every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are also a classic favorite. The satisfying crack of opening each shell, it's like a snack meditation. Get cracking, get snackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Please do smash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a thing, especially this week where quite a bit could happen for this team. Now, the Bruins have been using a variation of the spoked B in some form since around 1948, when it was first introduced to celebrate the team's 25th anniversary. Over the decades, though, the design has changed, and each version has reflected a different era. In 2025, here is what is new. The home logo will have 8 black spokes, a bold gold outer ring with a black outlined gold B. And this echoes the style worn by legends like Cam Neely, Ray Bourque in the 80s and the 90s. Everydayers will remember that this is the Bruins era that I came up in. I became a full-on, diehard, never going back Bruins fan in the late 80s, cemented in the 1990 Stanley Cup final or those playoffs when they played the Edmonton Oilers in the final. As I've said before, my sister was a massive Oilers / Mark Messier fan, and being the annoying little brother that one is at that age, I fully leaned into it. And it all started with my dad being a Bobby Orr fan, living in Trenton, Ontario, which was just down the road from Oshawa, where Bobby Orr played junior. So when he joined the Bruins, that's when a lot of Ontario people jumped on the Bruins bandwagon. For me, it has stuck ever since. And that style, I have the jersey in my closet. And number 8, Cam Neely jersey with this spoked B, this bear on the shoulders. Probably not going to go back to that, but I just love this spoked B so much. Now, the road logo will have 8 gold spokes, white background, gold outlined B. And it's the kind of look that was featured during the 2023-24 Centennial season, now a permanent road look. Both versions are now listed as co-primary logos, kind of a rare move in the NHL. Most teams have a primary logo that is worn on the home and road jerseys. The Bruins going with different spoked Bs on the home and road jerseys. They've tested the waters over the past couple years with Centennial looks, alternate jerseys, and it received overwhelming fan support, and they are committing to it for next season and beyond. So as I mentioned, the spoked B was first introduced in 1948. A more refined symmetrical version was introduced in 1995. In 2007, they kind of had thinner lines. This was used in the 2011 Cup run. The 2023-24 Centennial season introduced the dual logo concept, and now that is being made permanent. Why does this matter now? Well, the Bruins are in a post-Chara, post-Bergeron, post-Marchand transition, and the visual identity now matches kind of the cultural tone, trying to go back to a grittier, legacy-rooted look while setting a new foundation. The logo, though, wasn't the only message in the video reveal. It also quietly told us something important about who the Bruins are building around and who's being left behind. And we'll discuss that here as the podcast continues. So the visual stuff, I love the new spoked B on both jerseys. I'm a huge fan of. But if you watched closely, the logo video gave off more than just nostalgic vibes. It hinted at the players the Bruins are choosing to showcase in their next era. First of all, you had David Pastrnak front and center included in the teaser, looking down into the box, pulling out the new jersey. He's already the franchise's top scorer, now appears to be the front runner for the captaincy following Brad Marchand's departure. You also had Charlie McAvoy, the defensive anchor and another team leader. You can expect him to retain an A as an assistant or even alternate captain, continue serving as the team's heartbeat on the back end. Jeremy Swayman, clearly part of the long-term picture in net, despite some rumblings that he was on the Edmonton Oilers' radar last season. There's an outside chance that he could be dealt, but who else are they going to turn to right now? He's part of the long-term picture in net with 7 more seasons remaining on his deal. Nikita Zadorov was featured in this video. Signed last summer, he can be a tone setter on the blue line, and he truly stepped up late in the season once there were openings in the leadership group. And I expect Elias Lindholm to jump in there as well. Surprisingly prominent in the video, despite being an unsigned restricted free agent, is Morgan Geekie. And his inclusion suggests the team sees him as a critical piece moving forward. Maybe that a contract extension may be imminent. Closing the video, throughout the video, you see Bobby Orr. There's Gregory Campbell in there. Closing the video, we see Patrice Bergeron lifting the cup, the perfect symbolic bookend to the era this new look is kind of leaving behind. Now, when it comes to Morgan Geekie specifically, he's coming off a career best season where he recorded 33 goals. And it's very clear that this team is intent on re-signing him. Now, for what valuation and for how long, that, of course, remains to be seen. Now, in a Boston Globe piece by Kevin Paul DuPont on over the weekend, Geekie told him that discussions on a new contract have been, quote, pretty preliminary so far. The 26-year-old was non-tendered the last time he was a pending restricted free agent, signing a 2-year, $4 million deal with Boston that proved to be a pretty good bargain. And that was when the Seattle just decided to let him go. He had 39 points in 2023-24, followed that up with a 33-goal, 57-point effort this past season. And that could push his price tag past $5 million on a multi-year deal this time around. He is arbitration eligible, but we know from the Jeremy Swayman situation that this process can really take a toll on a player's mental health, and it can also cause some friction between player and team. Those arbitration hearings generally run late July into early August. And maybe the Bruins' plan is to let him file for arbitration late next week and then start to have more substantive discussions on a new agreement at that time. When you file for arbitration, at some point in the process, there's the player's ask, the team's offer, and then they usually meet in between. It's not always a recipe for success, but that appears to be where it is. Now, again, in this video, he was featured quite prominently and like more than one clip of him. And it suggests that he is seen as part of the next wave of the core and that a new deal could and hopefully should be coming soon. It's also kind of worth noting that as they talked about all this tradition and getting back to Bruins, what made the Bruins great over the years, also talk of loyalty. There was no mention of Brad Marchand in this video at all. Now, of course, when he comes back, whatever team he plays for next season, the first game back, there will be a tribute video. There will be a thank you message. There will be all kinds of praise and retrospectives. But despite just captaining the Bruins last season, winning a Stanley Cup, albeit with Florida, he was nowhere to be seen. Not even a background cameo that I could spot. And it's a clear sign that Boston is turning the page and doing so intentionally. And Patrice Bergeron was there at the end, raising the cup. We know that he was present at Marco Sturm's press conference where he was announced officially as the head coach. We know that Sturm and Bergeron have a pretty close relationship, and maybe at some point he will be integrated in an official capacity. But right now, the Bruins kind of allowing Brad to enjoy his time, celebrating, see where he lands in the offseason, and then when he comes back, they will do a proper tribute and acknowledge the impact that he had on the club over the years, culminating, of course, in number 63 being retired at some point in the future. So again, it's the beginning of a pretty big week for the Boston Bruins. There's going to be a media availability on Wednesday where Don Sweeney will do a pre-draft State of the Union. The draft, of course, will take place over the weekend. The jersey will be revealed on Wednesday as well. Perhaps that will coincide with an announcement of the captain. You're also going to have free agency. And as the week goes on, we're going to discuss who the Bruins may be targeting, including it appears as though Brock Besser will be really on their radar as July 1st hits. But to begin, they've officially unveiled their new primary logo for 2025-26. It's the return to a gold, bold, outlined spoked B that defined the franchise through the 1980s and early 90s. Not just a logo refresh. It's a cultural statement, and it ties into team history while signaling a new era in Bruins hockey. And of course, it all began with that cryptic teaser of David Pastrnak opening a box to reveal a new jersey. And that led to the powerful video narrated by Dennis Leary with the tagline, "Built by Boston, powered by tradition." The video leaned heavily into Boston identity, toughness, loyalty, without mentioning Brad Marchand, and grit, and arrives at a moment when the organization is clearly turning the page with a new core built around David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, Jeremy Swayman, and Nikita Zadorov, as well as unsigned RFA Morgan Geekie. And that inclusion suggests a contract extension may be imminent and that the team views him as part of a long-term core. Patrice Bergeron as the final shot, a respectful nod to the past as the Bruins begin a new chapter. I'm very excited about this rebound. In conclusion, I loved this logo growing up, and I'm so excited to see it back on the ice. Now, look, we don't know what the product's going to look like next season, but we know they're going to look good, right? The Bruins didn't just bring back an old logo. They brought back a mindset, and by reviving the classic spoked B, pairing it with the message, they're signaling exactly who they are and where they're going. A new coach, a retooled roster, a fresh leadership core taking shape. The page is turning in Boston, and the Bruins are making it clear they intend to write the next chapter their way. This signals that this will not be a long-term rebuild. They're trying to turn the page quickly and effectively, and with a view to getting back to a playoff team as early as this season. Will it be successful? Who knows? But what we do know is that they're going to look pretty good. And there's some other potentially franchise-changing things coming up this week, including the draft, free agency, possible trades, and a full jersey. So you're going to want to keep it locked to Locked On Boston Bruins for all the latest. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube if you have not already. Thank you for making Locked On Bruins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NHL. No offseason around here. We're bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other, and stay cool out there because it is roasting up here in Ontario for sure, all over northeastern North America. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. Talk to you again here tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.